It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. As we move into a Wednesday, hello, Gary.
I just don't know where to start.
Let's start at the beginning. I was born at an early age.
There's so many audio cuts. I'm like, I don't know where to start. So let's just play some, okay?
All right, let's play them all at the same time. Well, simultaneously.
Well, we might just be able to sit here and do nothing all night. Yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment. So when I'm waiting my 5.5 hours there in the waiting room, I had plenty of. Okay, I'm kidding. It wasn't that long. But all day, I'm just on my phone, just another audio cut, another audio cut, another audio cut, another audio cut. Oh, they've got a term for it now. Yeah. Tesla terrorism. Oh, okay. What's Schumer saying? What? What's this nonsense from AOC where she's not making sense whatsoever? Oh, wow. The Treasury Secretary has just promoted the Hunter Biden IRS whistleblowers to leadership roles. Okay, what's going on now with the Kennedy assassination files out there? Oops. Oh, wait a minute. Wow. There's the Trump administration pounding on the Biden administration, and they've been doing this for a week, saying they didn't want to rescue the astronauts.
Yeah.
And that Elon Musk, never, he wanted to do it. They wouldn't respond to him.
Right.
And as I told you, I said the most incredible thing about that is nobody's defending the Biden administration. Nobody has come out in a week since that accusation's been out there and said, that's not true. We did everything that we could. And then they talked to the head of NASA.
Mm-hmm.
And he just said, well, I really don't know because I never talked to anybody from the Biden administration.
Right.
What? So you've got that. You've got the new book that's been written by a couple of liberals that said the problem is, and these are all audio cuts that we have coming up. The problem with liberalism is you go to places like California where there is no Elon Musk. There is no Trump. You can't blame any of them for anything. And then you've got this massive spending per capita way over what other states have, and they can't deliver. And that's coming from liberals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sitting there going, what the hell's going on here today? Then you got Tim Walz out there saying, oh, Trump supporters, I think I can kick most of their asses. Yeah, we can come out there. We can kick. Like the Tesla violence, we got the professors talking about that violence now is an acceptable way to go, and all because, did I mention Schumer? Okay, I didn't. Schumer going after, how dare you want to keep your own money?
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's just, what a day. And I know I'm missing 5 or 6 things.
Oh, yeah, there's a number of things.
Oh, we'll get to all of it, but it's just like, whoa. Man, oh, man, oh, man. It's just absolutely, it's fantastic.
At least the liberals are going back to, fisticuffs. They were, remember, who was it that a number of them challenged Trump physically to a fight? Yeah, I could take him. What's with all this violent talk?
Well, think about it.
Because here's a guy Tim Walz, who might want to run in 28. He said it. He would consider running in 28. And I could probably beat up half my constituents. Who thinks that way?
I know it just.
What kind of psycho are you?
And then when you think about this, and I know we've said it before, but sometimes when you can just continue to think of something over again because the impressions keep hitting you because of news events. Liberals are burning electric vehicles.
Yeah.
And
By the way,
causing massive pollution, which leads to climate change. You probably could right now forget about an executive order to get rid of the EV mandate. You probably could go to Congress and you'd get 90% of Democrats to vote against the EV mandate because Tesla is by far the biggest winner there, even though Elon Musk said he doesn't want subsidies.
Mm-hmm.
They'd probably come in and say, the Inflation Reduction Act, let's cut out all the climate change stuff because it's helping Elon Musk too much.
Well, yeah, because if there's a winner, the number one EV maker is just going to win by default, right? I mean, if there is a mandate in place. Mm-hmm. And I will take the reverse psychology approach.
Okay.
Trump should implement his own EV mandates, which would ensure only the mandates in the future are gone.
I like that.
Because conservatives would go, no, we disagree with him. And liberals, of course, would disagree with him because he's Trump. But either way, it is so over the top crazy right now in how they're responding to everything. I mean, I don't, because I thought to myself, what about, because you've probably seen the videos, the police, I forget which town this was in. There was a guy recorded keying a Tesla, walking by and just putting a huge, massive scratch in it. Then they got him on, they recorded him. And they found the guy. You know, that kind of terrorism, they're going to go after the individuals. It's not just the dealerships. Anybody driving a Tesla is a target. And a lot of those people don't care one way or the other. They bought it because they like the car.
Yeah.
And they could be targeted now.
I have been picked up so much lately when I order an Uber with Teslas.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone I've talked to, none of their decisions were political at all.
No. I mean, a lot of them are tech geeks.
Yeah.
I have a person in my family, total tech geek, and he bought one of the early Teslas, and he's driven nothing else since. That's, it's he doesn't care where anybody stands politically. He likes the cars.
Yeah, I know somebody who is conservative, as conservative as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Some of his toys are electric vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got diesel, he's got gasoline, but he's got a couple of EVs because it's got nothing to do with politics. It's got nothing to do with the fact that he doesn't recognize the limitations. Mm-hmm. And the battery and all this, it's like he loves the technology in it. He's a tech geek and just loves it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, I mean, we can talk about choosing to do that and then the mandate.
Of course.
Two separate things. A lot of people, in fact, the member of my family that owns one, he doesn't take many road trips. And if he takes trips, he's usually on a plane. But he doesn't, and he said it's never been an issue because he's not going to drive it across country. He said I think the most he's driven it is from like Dallas to Houston. And that's the longest stretch, which isn't a long stretch at all. And so for him, none of the concerns came into play. His house was already equipped for it when he bought the house. So, and then you can go over to the other side in the insane mandates, saying everybody must buy one, or the OEMs can only sell them if they're selling new vehicles starting in whatever year. This is insanity. That's not progress. That's anything but progress. And now the left wants to see all of it literally up in flames.
Yeah, it's I'm telling you, it was what a what a great day it was. I mean, just news-wise.
Yeah.
And so we'll have all that coming up for you. I did see on YouTube, though, because I kept seeing, the Tesla tiny home for $7,900.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's without accessories.
It's without walls, windows, and roofs.
Well, no, I saw it. I'm like, well, this is really neat. I'm like, well, what else? What do you do? Well, you can be self-sustainable, whatever. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Well, here's our rain system. Where we store water. Here's our basically our water treatment plant that will take rainwater and make it so you can drink it, and then the gray water that you have from the house gets recycled so you can use it in the toilet and they go through just everything that they have, and then the battery system and the solar panels. And I'm thinking, oh, so the $7,900 is just for the basic house, all the accessories, because you can't get that battery bank and the solar panels for $7,900.
No.
That they want. So I went,
yeah, no.
Oh, okay. So it's going to cost you more, But it's what I've seen is really an interesting concept if you're talking about, people wanting a place to live, and if you can hook up to the grid on those homes, well, then it's whatever the price would be. They're real nice. You can make a real nice tiny apartment for yourself. You and I talked about one of the problems is when the government got involved in the mortgage business, people started buying bigger homes. It's like, well, what's the problem? How come our parents could have a home? Well, yeah, they lived in a 1,000-square-foot home, a 900-square-foot home.
Right.
They weren't living.
Right.
The average house today that people are buying is not 900 square feet.
Right.
And so, so homes were cheaper. So because you didn't have the government assistance, to do all of this, that again, free money, as we know, skyrockets the cost of the goods and service that it subsidizes.
Right.
Which, happened there. But yeah, it's going to be, it's a great day. What else am I missing? Oh, the whole judge thing.
Oh, yeah. Again, we said that, look, it's not over.
Well, we said it yesterday. There's three branches of government, and there is this narrative that the judicial branch cannot be severely criticized.
Right.
And it was interesting,
Right.
Roberts put out that, that statement, didn't mention Trump, and the spokesperson said it had nothing to do with Trump. It was because of press inquiries, about it. But of course it had to do with Trump and other Republicans out there. Look, impeachment isn't going to happen. But when we look, first thing I thought of when Roberts chastising anybody with Obamacare, when he said a penalty is a tax, that was wrong what he did. It's wrong. By any measure, it's wrong. A penalty is not a tax.
Right.
And to do that, to justify it, should be severely criticized.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It was. It was wrong.
He rewrote the law from the bench.
It was wrong what he did. He changed the definition of words to fit his narrative. It's reprehensible that he did that, because what he did at that point is he didn't interpret what the law is. He decided by changing the definition of a word to make law.
Right.
That's reprehensible for a Supreme Court justice to do that. Your job is to interpret what the law is from Congress, not to make up your own definitions.
Well, and remember during the hearings on that, it was said, I think it was Scalia that said it, that said, well, look, if they wanted it, if they want to change it, Congress can go back and rewrite the law. If they meant that, then they can write it that way.
Yes.
And there was laughter in the room during the hearing, and the reason there was laughter in the room is because by that time, Obama had lost the House and the Senate. The Democrats had lost the House and the Senate. And so they were laughing because, well, that's never going to happen. The GOP is not going to go back and rewrite it, for Obama. It doesn't matter. It's about interpretation of the law, not rewriting the law like Roberts did then.
Right. And when you do that, you're not fulfilling your constitutional duty.
Right.
Now, you're not going to get impeached for that.
No.
It's not going to happen, because impeachment is for bribery and things like that. But when you act political, when you are a political monster and you claim that you're not, and obviously it's self-evident that you are, and you decide to enter the political arena and be political, and you don't interpret the law, then don't go crying when you are attacked as viciously as any other politician, Congress or president,
Right.
the other branches of government,
Right.
when you are severely criticized for your wrongdoing.
Right.
And the rhetoric gets a little bit heated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not immune. And there's this thing that the court is above and the court can do whatever they want, and any severe criticism of the court should not be allowed.
Right.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We got a great show ahead.
We do.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. It's not always easy to spring back from the harsh days of winter to warmer months ahead. From de-icing chemicals to hidden debris underneath snow and ice, winter conditions can do serious damage to your truck. Here's a must-do maintenance check to help you minimize downtime and stay rolling. Have your batteries tested and inspect your electrical system for any exposed connections, wires, or butt connectors. Get any exposed components repaired immediately, as the acidic nature of highway de-icers will erode any exposed connections or wires in no time at all.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. All right, let's start off with the first impression I got yesterday. I mean, the first impression of the news, which was Schumer on The View.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. All right, here we go.
And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or, I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, my the land and water that I own, or my employees? They hate government. Government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Do you know any Republican that wants all government destroyed?
No.
No.
Smaller government, yes.
Yeah. More efficient
Yeah.
government, a government that doesn't take the burden of what we want today and put it on future generations. We view that as reprehensible. By the way, Republicans need to talk about that more.
Mm-hmm.
How dare you, you selfish SOB. How dare you? How dare you think that what we need today, that we can put that burden on future generations? Who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah,
And-
they're not only going after mine, they're going after my great-grandchildren's
Right.
and their great-grandchildren's.
But it is your money. You did earn it. And that's this, you hear the sarcasm in it.
Oh, yeah.
I
Yeah.
built my business. I earned my money, and I just don't want to waste it.
Well, what he's doing is it's another version of what Obama did. You didn't build that. If it weren't for the government built roads and bridges, you wouldn't have had a business. Nope. Other way around. Without the profits from the private sector, the roads and bridges wouldn't be there.
Yeah. Obama wasn't as smart as people said he was he?
No, he wasn't.
Because every single road and every single bridge was built on the profits of companies and individuals.
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, nothing would be built. If you wish to say, well, government transferred the money from one entity to the other, I'll give you that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't build anything.
Yeah, this is I don't know if this is Schumer. I know it's his book thing, but I don't know if this is, these comments on The View. Is this him trying to build street cred? Rebuild street cred after the week he's had?
Oh, yeah, he's trying to do it. I don't think it worked.
Tough
though.
guy. No,
It
it
didn't
did not.
work.
It was weak. It was cheese on a raw patty. That's what it was.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. This was my favorite audio cut of the day, though.
All right.
And believe me, there was tons, and we'll be playing them all. This is my favorite, though, because this is the new leader of the Democratic Party, AOC. And she decided to go online with a video.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Here we go.
Hey everyone, I'm just popping on, and to be honest, I'm not even sure why I'm popping on right now. Hey everybody, hey everyone, thanks for joining. I mean,
I think that said it all, right? I don't know what I'm doing here. Yeah, we know. We know that you don't know what you're doing. We get it. I'm sorry.
The new leader of the Democratic Party.
Yeah. I don't know.
And then let's get to Tim Walz on the Gavin Newsome podcast.
All right. Yeah.
Can I just sit back for a moment? I don't have to work anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
know.
have to do. I can't believe. Here I am, almost 36 years in talk radio, 42 years in radio, and it's always been work. It's not work anymore.
No, it's not. Not even close.
I can't even fake that it's work.
No.
It's just handed to me every day, the material.
I try and look tired, but it doesn't fool anyone.
Yeah, just like, the Seinfeld episode where George Costanza, it's like, just always be irritable when somebody walks in the office and people will think you're working.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Well, but I just was shaking my head yesterday. It's like, will I ever have to work again?
Yeah.
With Democrats, because they're just so insane. And the entertainment value, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't have to work anymore, and the entertainment value is just great, and all I have to do is go to my phone. I just go to my phone and start scrolling.
Yep.
That's not even work anymore.
Nope.
I don't have to go out and buy a newspaper.
Nope.
I don't have to turn on the computer anymore and wait 30 seconds for it to come on and warm up in fast mode.
You don't even have to stand up.
Here we go. Here's Tim Walz on Trump supporters on the Gavin Newsome podcast. Here we go.
How do you fight it?
This
I
notion
think
of
I could
tax.
kick most of their ass. I do think that if they want to do it. I know I can outrun them, but I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to. Okay, we challenge you to a WWE fight here type.
Well,
I don't want to be childish here, but I have to ask the question, does anybody out there believe that Tim Walz could beat you up?
I don't even know that it was ever like a question. By the way, who thinks that way? I bet I could take that guy. I bet I could beat that guy up. Who thinks that way? I mean, unless you're actually challenged in a fight. But this is who the left is. The left has for many years fought against people that they're looking to make their constituents, or even further, Barack Obama did it as president. Members of the Flat Earth Society, he wasn't talking about members of Congress. He wasn't talking about people in public office. He was talking about his own constituents that way, and did it on a regular basis. The arrogance is what kept his head so full. He just didn't need anybody else, just his arrogance and the media.
Now, I think I know why he wants to fight. because it was the continuation of the interview. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz accused Republicans of misogyny for questioning his masculinity during the 2024 vice presidential run.
I assume that's where it came from.
Yes.
And that's only because, seriously, you got to question his masculinity. I mean, have you seen the guy? Have you looked at him jumping around on stage? I'm not saying anything, but I'm just saying. I mean, seriously.
We buy their frame on these issues of sexuality, but their whole thing was that they spent all their time, these guys on Fox News, saying that Walz is gay. He's not met. Do you remember anyone on Fox News ever accusing him of being gay?
No.
Saying those words ever?
No.
I don't. I would like to see him back that up.
I mean, having happy hands. I don't know about Fox News.
Yeah,
but the jumping around on stage with both hands in the air.
Well, it was
he looked like a weird child, like a hyperactive kid. And quite frankly, less than masculine. Far less than masculine.
Far less than typical stereotype masculinity.
Yeah, well, or actual masculinity. He just, either one. It doesn't reach.
Oh, my gosh. He goes, these guys on Fox News saying Walz is gay, he's not masculine, he doesn't coach football the way that he should. Well, remember when what was the thing that he said, which was almost reminded me of the comic one time, or the picture was the meme, and it was it Ashley Simpson that was dating Tony Romo?
Possibly, yeah. That could.
I think it was
been
Jessica
Simpson.
Jessica
okay.
Simpson. Okay,
all right.
Was and it shows her cheering, and she's it's like home run.
Yeah.
Go Sports. It goes Sports, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Walz is gay. He's not masculine. He doesn't coach football the way that he should. Walz told Gavin Newsome on his podcast, there's misogyny in there that's happening.
By the way, I didn't ever hear anyone ever bring up the word gay until he did on the podcast.
Well, what I did say, I said he does, when he first came out and did that circular dance with his hands up in the air, it was almost a mirror of Richard Simmons.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, it was.
Right,
and,
right.
And,
but it didn't necessarily mean that he was gay.
Right.
It's just he looked like Richard Simmons jumping around out there.
Right.
With his happy hands.
And it goes, not that I spend much time thinking about this.
Well,
he's obsessed with it.
Because you'd like to beat half of the country up.
It just baffled me how much time they spent trying to attack me that wasn't masculine through their vision. Oh, he's obsessed with it. I mean, he's like,
yeah. I'm not masculine in their vision. You mean the masculine vision?
Handle it the way that Jerry Seinfeld handled it.
You mean
I'm
the
neat.
manly kind of masculine? I don't know.
I'm late 30s, neat, and thin.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And then he said, I think I can kick most of their asses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we're going to fall into that place where we want to say, okay, we challenge you, to a WWE type of thing, which we played already.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
It's he's clearly angry about it. He shouldn't go angry. You know what he should do? In order to work out this anger, he should go to the gym. Go work out. Go work it out. Go work through it. Tim?
When they have, let me see, they have Jesse, they're using some quotes here from Jesse Waters. Women love masculinity. Women do not love Tim Walz. So that should just tell you how masculine Tim Walz is, Waters said on the 5. The other day you saw him with vanilla ice cream shake. He had a straw in it. Now that tells you everything.
That tells you everything.
Wait a minute. I disagree with that. Now, I don't drink milkshakes anymore.
Uh-huh.
Too many carbs and sugar in
You
it.
put a straw in your protein shake?
No, that I do not. But that's
Okay.
not. But those aren't really shakes. That's not a thick kind of shake.
No, the ones I make are.
See,
The ones I make at home.
Oh,
You're talking about the kind you buy that are pre-made?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Those.
Well,
are,
even the I do have protein shake mix, but it's not thick.
Yeah. Well,
you put
have
water
to
in
make
it.
it that way. Yeah, you have to use ice and stuff like that to make it.
Oh yeah, I could do
ice cream
yeah.
like stuff.
Yeah, I could do. And yes, if I did that, I would have I don't have straws at home, so I don't like go out and buy straw. I need to have a straw. So if I was out and had a shake,
The
yes.
measurement of a man. I don't know. Does he have straws in his cupboard?
Gary uses.
I don't know. Does he use the word cupboard instead of cabinets?
Gary.
Now we're dealing with an age issue.
Well, wait a minute. Well, that's what I was going to say. When you said cupboard, I went, that's my grandmother.
Right.
That was my late grandmother's. Let's get something out of the cupboard.
Cupboard predates indoor plumbing,
Right.
I think.
Or get something out of the icebox.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up with that. Get something out of the
icebox.
icebox. You're
Right.
like, it's a refrigerator. What the hell are you talking about? Oh, okay. We grew up with iceboxes.
Right.
What do you mean? We put ice in a box.
Exactly. They would deliver the ice. You had a box. You kept the box. They would deliver the ice. You'd put the ice in the box. Therefore, icebox. It's
remember when I had never laughed so hard in my life. The woman who wrote to me one time and said that men don't normally have as close of a relationship with their father that you have, which proves you're gay.
wow.
Like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
I'm not. You want to fight? I'm not defensive about it. I'll fight you right now.
Right.
I'll fight you with one hand behind my back.
Did Gary just challenge a female listener to a fight?
Put him up. Uh-oh. That's more proof.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh my god, it's so funny. And then who was it? One of the senators criticized him for calling the last days of the 2024 presidential race the final quarter. We call it the fourth quarter, Coach.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You can tell he's really bothered by it.
Well, because
which is really, you and I have been in this business now decades upon decades upon decades upon decades. Both of us over 40 years in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're going to get every type of insult known to mankind.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
And you laugh it off. In fact, you find a great humor
Most
in it.
Most of them come from inside this room.
Well, no, what we find out is when people do that, it's because they can't argue their point.
Well,
but you learn not to be offended by it. Walz is offended by it. He's ticked off. I mean,
and you and I, engage quite often in self-deprecating humor. I think if you can't laugh at yourself every once in a while or a lot, depending, then it's what's the point, right? And because when you do that, first of all, you get down to the very basic level of a conversation. Okay, we've taken all that garbage off the table, and then whatever name calling might be involved. All right, we've disarmed all of that, and that's behind us. Now let's talk like adults, and that's clearly something that Tim Walz is not capable of doing. Basically claiming he could beat them all up. Well, that sounds like a third grader that wants to be a bully, but he's too feminine. I'm sorry. This is so juicy. There's no way that this fruit is just going to sit there without me leaning into it. No. Tim Walz just bit the wrong apple. This is the problem. It is the problem, that the left doesn't get. I mean, where's Tim Walz on the issues? Where is he on the issues? It's all identity politics, and, when he gets angry, basically making the claim that he could beat up half of America. You're a child.
I think, and I think most people would agree with me, I think Tim Walz has cooties.
I think he does. Stay away from him.
866-90 Red Eye.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm just going through X and Brett Favre. I don't have the time to go through 70,000 files of the JFK.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the JFK
Well, no, it's
assassination files. Anybody tell me what happened?
No, because I actually went, to the site, to the archives, to the National Archives. And then I'm looking at it, and, it's loaded with all these PDF downloads. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to take so long.
I know.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi, good morning. All right, so this is completely off any topic that was out there, but I just happened to see this.
All right.
And I went, what are they talking about? I happened to see an audio cut from Tina Fey and Amy Poehler, and it's her new podcast.
Yeah, right.
Amy
yeah.
Poehler's new podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so, and you're going, oh, come on, Gary, where the hell is this going? It's going places. And let me just read it to you from People. Tina Fey slams celebrity side hustles, and if you're rich enough, you shouldn't have a side hustle. I'm like, what? And it said on Tuesday, March 18th, Amy Poehler launched her new podcast, and Tina Fey was her guest. They after welcoming Fey, Poehler proudly credited her longtime friend with having the best hair in the business. So they talked hair. Tim Walz might be interested in part of this conversation.
Maybe. Yeah, I think so.
They talked, their hair and receding hairlines, and then they got into talking about money. Faye started to explain why she never ventured into her own line of eyeglasses before the podcaster interjected, "You hate money?" "I do kind of hate money," she confessed, adding that she's terrible with money. Poehler disagreed, prompting her guest to clarify the statement. "No, I'm not terrible. I don't waste money, but I don't get excited about money," noting that feeling safe and having enough money to live was all she needed. Quote, "I have a problem with rich people having a side hustle." And at that point, I read that, and I'm like, okay, let me see. Is there audio out there on it? There's audio on it. You ready for it? Here we go.
Okay.
Because, they're liberals. This is something that never enters my mind.
Right.
The stuff that they're worried about or think is bad.
Right. They have a problem with other people doing.
Right. Here it is.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Money. If I'm safe and I have enough money to live, I have a problem with rich people having a side hustle.
Yeah. You mean like a podcast or something?
No, you're doing work. I'm saying if you sold like, where would my line be for you? Where would I draw the line?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like if I had a rosé.
If you, yeah,
you know what I mean?
If you already have like $200 million and you're like, also, I need you to.
But Tina, this is where you have to learn from Gen Z. I'm sorry, and we have to.
They don't care. They don't judge it.
They don't judge it.
I judge it.
Well, you should stop because
this isn't a generational thing. Well, you gotta Gen Z's okay with you being rich and doing something else, going into another business. That's the entire point of a liberal. Once you've made money, you shouldn't attempt to make any more money.
Right. I have a problem with rich people doing other things to make more money.
Right.
But this is who they are. They do have this, this is because At some point, you've made enough money. Now, it really doesn't apply to them. Well, we're going to make money. We're going to keep making money. We're going to keep doing things. And I love the Amy Poehler reply. You mean like podcasts? Well, no, you're doing work. Well, no. What are you doing? You're selling a brand. You're selling the Amy Poehler brand. I mean, if you think about it, it's a trendy thing to do, to launch a podcast. Quite frankly, I think it's kind of late in the game, but it's what people are doing.
Right.
You launch a podcast. What I've found is a lot of the celebrity podcasts don't get near what you would think in terms of views. But my approach to it has been, I don't care what somebody else is doing or launching. What's not considered here is, okay, I'm going to launch a new whatever, a new wine, a new whatever it is. You put a ton of money into it, and it goes flat, belly up, like quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're out like $30, $40 million, whatever it is. Your wealth is not guaranteed. And taking on something, who was it? Jessica Alba. I saw her name in the news, and what's her brand? It's she's got a whole brand. The Honest Company. And you see it. I mean, soaps and everything. So she's got a ton of money. I don't know if Jessica Alba is considered an A-lister or not.
Well, then
but
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, right.
He's into a ton of different other businesses.
Well, he bought a company, a cell phone company, and then sold it for a lot of money. To me, it's fascinating when someone can do that, because I saw this story on Jessica Alba, something to do with her personal life, and then, said her fortune. And then I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, she's behind the whole Honest thing, the brand Honest, whatever, it's a number of things. It's, they have baby items, they have soaps and all this stuff, right? And I look at that, and to me, that's fascinating all day long. It's also fascinating to look into the failure stories. Well, so-and-so launched a line of beef jerky, and that went flat. And it's like, okay, and then you scratch your head, and all right, what were they thinking? And all of those, moves that people make, that known people, celebrities make on the side, I always find fascinating. Ashton Kutcher is one of them who gets into a number of things. I think he was didn't he invest in Uber early on?
Well, I remember seeing a documentary on, was it Tom DeLonge of Blink-182, and how he was unsure, like, this isn't going to last forever. I better diversify.
Right. Yeah.
And he did, and I remember seeing the documentary. His sister is involved, as a CEO or management of the businesses that he is in, which is a great thing. I hate money. That's like saying I hate a screwdriver,
right,
or I hate a hammer.
Well, and then she's really going on to say, I hate other people having money.
Right. And the reason it caught my attention, I thought she was probably referencing Elon Musk. That was why I first, and they didn't mention Elon Musk in it. I did check. Yeah. But still, then I was really interested in the fact that she's worried that other people that have money are creating new businesses, which, again, as you said, nothing is guaranteed.
Right.
But when you think about it, this is where the left, and I'll say the same thing about the Schumer comment yesterday about people, I built this business. Well, damn straight you built the business and you earned it.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be no recognition from so many on the left that if you earn something, you earn it. You worked for it.
Right.
That the government should be very, 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 very careful and efficient of how they use the money that you earn.
Right.
But that's for Schumer.
Right.
But for Tina Fey, talking about it that way, I'm like, what? People gamble when they do that. They create new jobs.
Yeah.
They create new jobs. They help by creating new businesses and creating new jobs. They end up paying more in taxes that the left claims people should be more willing to do. It's almost as if they hate success, or they hate too much success, or there's some kind of morality. I don't understand it. As you could tell, she couldn't even explain it.
Well,
Did you see how she couldn't really? She was hesitating. She never got out a complete sentence while doing it, which to me is the emotion of rage that comes from jealousy and envy. It really does, because I don't know how else to describe it. I could care less if somebody is worth $1 billion and decides to go into 10 other businesses. I'm like, oh, good.
To me, that's fascinating. When you look at Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, the twins from Full House. That could have gone a number of ways, right? Because we've heard all the horror stories and seen all the horror stories over the years of childhood actors. And then all of a sudden, you know, by the time they're 13 or 14, it's just over.
Yeah.
They're worth $500 million. To me, I'm fascinated by all of that. I don't care how they live. I don't care what they do, as long as they're not pushing for lawmakers or presidents to control my life. I don't really have an opinion about them either way. In fact, I'm fascinated about the success story. I'm also fascinated by the failure stories, because they're one and the same in what you can learn from them. You must learn about failures in order to be successful, if you're going to be. You and I know people that, in fact, you and I both have family members that worked blue-collar jobs and lived below their means, and they have plenty of money put aside.
Now
That's a huge success story. They don't have to be Elon Musk net worth. That's a success story because they did the right thing. Duff McKagan, bass player for Guns N' Roses, when he got sober and learned about investing, all of a sudden he had people coming to him asking him about investing, you know, taking all of that money. All right, now let me do something with it, something that is meaningful. And that's a fascinating story to me. You know, I think it's heartbreaking to watch these celebrities and athletes, you know, that have burned through their cash, and then they're, you know, flat broke. They have nothing, you know, at the end of their life. And, you know,
Hammer did it wrong the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
But he would admit it.
Oh,
he
right.
was the first one to admit it.
Yeah.
You know, the money, but I think he earned $36 million the 1 year, and it was all gone.
Yeah, it's all gone.
It's
you
like,
know, you're just flying through cash.
Right. So people have bad investments, and you're like, wow, why did they do something like that?
Right.
You can sit there and look and go, that was a bad thing. But to sit there and say that you're irritated, you think it's wrong, you judge people that have money that decide to create new businesses, doesn't make any sense. That's almost, I hear that and I'm like, well, you're an emotional nightmare. What are you talking about? That comes from pure emotion. That does not come from any logic or connecting the dots.
Right.
Because you should want, the whole system is set up with people taking calculated risks in order to make a profit, which then benefits society. As we said before, when we went after Schumer, and also mentioned the Obama ridiculous statement that you didn't build that way back then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you did build it, because if people weren't making legitimate profits, the whole system crumbles. Yeah. There are no charities. There is no money for government. Well, if you don't have so people that decide to do that, to take the calculated risk to do it and work damn hard to do it, should be recognized and complimented for doing it.
Well, and you think about, I mentioned Jessica Alba's company, The Honest Company. Not the biggest company in the world, but over 400 employees as of this year. You know, and more than half of them are full-time. You know, you're talking about, again, the expansion of wealth. You're talking about doing things that benefit a number of people and having this attitude that, oh, you've done enough. You shouldn't be getting into that. Whatever you do or choose to do is on you. That's fine. And I don't judge that. But I do have a problem with people judging others based on what they're going to do with their money or what they're doing with their money, whether they're rich already or not. You know, there are plenty of things that don't work, plenty of ventures that don't work, from the biggest ventures. You know, what was it? Microsoft is shutting down Skype. You know, Amazon tried some things that didn't work. They pull them back. You know, things that become household names. And it's like, all right, all of these ideas implemented can fly and sometimes fall flat on their face.
Isn't that interesting, though, when you think about it? That I remember when they said, well, the phones are going to be replaced and you're going to be able to talk to somebody and look at them. Nobody wants to do that.
Nobody wants to do it.
They may do it in business, but nobody wants to. Nobody does that in their personal life. Nobody wants to see each other. You wake up, you're like, I just don't look good. I don't want to be talking to somebody on a Zoom call. Let's just. And isn't that amazing? Because you could look at that and say, back 40 years ago, this is a slam dunk.
Yeah.
Man, well, I'm going to invest in this because, wow, people will be able to look at each other when they talk to each other. We don't want to do that.
Well, you know, and it's and there are some things. You look at FaceTime, and FaceTime has been actually gaining a little popularity on people's phones, you know, but I think those are people that kind of want to do that, you know, anyway. They're the kind that might jump on a Zoom call, you know, and just with a friend, not for a business purpose, you know. But, yeah, I don't want somebody FaceTiming me right when I wake up.
Well, it's not nearly as popular as people projected it would be.
Oh, no, they thought it was going to take over completely.
Completely, right.
Yeah.
Right. 866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Surviving and thriving as an owner-operator has just as much to do with managing costs as it does with generating revenue. Like the chief financial officer of any company, you have to be concerned about rising costs, especially without increases in revenue. Trying to reduce costs, let alone make sense of them, can be a complicated task. Understanding basic principles of operating costs can save you thousands of dollars a year. A penny saved could be $1,000 earned. Saving just 1 penny per mile over 100,000 miles driven annually will deliver $1,000 to the bottom line at the end of the year. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, Trump and Putin. You see that Gallup poll? More Americans now support the support for Ukraine is back to where it was when it first started, and it's changed drastically over the last few months. It'll be interesting to see where Trump goes with all of this. Interesting because he's being criticized for calling Canada nasty. He made it clear he was talking about later on in the interview with. Who did he do it with? Was it Laura Ingraham he did it with last night? Forgot who he did it with. He said he was talking about the Trudeau government, and it was funny because some Canadians commented on the X post that I saw saying, well, he's right. The Trudeau government is extremely nasty.
Wow.
The former Trudeau government was really, really nasty. But you can see that Putin now wants to test the president.
Yeah.
This is clearly a test, for the president. We'll see what happens in the negotiations. He's still the president's still playing it very softly
Yeah.
with Putin. Whether he believes he has a carrot, so far Putin hasn't acknowledged that he does.
Right.
And so
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. But the terms of what Putin is talking about now have to be completely unacceptable to the American public.
Right. Yeah. Which
and the president.
Yeah,
What-
which I guess is where it starts, but it also might be the only place it goes with someone like Putin.
Yeah.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here. I was looking at the New York Post editorial. Resist Putin's extremist demands, Mr. President. Americans will back you. Vladimir Putin is still demanding the moon for a full Ukraine ceasefire. Peacemaking President Donald Trump may soon need to drop the niceties and break out the sticks. It's something that you and I have talked about. Mm-hmm. Will that happen? I tend to believe it will. I mean, the left analyzing Trump and saying that he is basically submissive to Putin or anybody else.
Right.
I don't buy.
No,
that's not in Trump's. That's not in Trump's personality. It said if he does, most Americans will back him. In their talk Tuesday, Trump did get Putin to agree to an energy and infrastructure ceasefire plus formal negotiations towards a full ceasefire and permanent peace, per the White House readout. The Kremlin also flagged a small Ukraine-Russia prisoner exchange to begin on Wednesday. It's a start, but Putin's publicly ruling out a ceasefire unless he gets a total halt on all foreign military and all intelligence sharing with Ukraine. If he insists on that, it's time for the sticks, with whether harsher sanctions on Putin and company or more lethal aid to Ukraine. Hard to believe that Putin truly expects Donald Trump to give up all of his leverage up front or give Moscow every incentive to drag out talks while it rampages over Ukraine's suddenly hobbled and blinded forces, or preps a devastating attack like the one it failed to pull off 3 years ago. Reality check, Trump's no dummy, and Americans are not on Russia's side. The guy's savage. He's a savage brute who bullies neighbors, poisons his enemies, represses his own people, terrorizes civilians, even kidnaps children. Notably, U.S. public support for Ukraine is growing. A new Gallup poll found that 46% of Americans think Washington is not doing enough to help Ukraine, the highest level of support Ukraine's enjoyed here since the war began, and up 16 points since December and 21 points since October. Meanwhile, the share who think we're doing too much has plunged from 37% in December to 30%, and a majority, 53%, actually want to help Ukraine reclaim territory it's lost to Russia, even if it prolongs the conflict, and 45% who want it to end quickly and let Russia keep the land that it's taken. Trump is right to try to end the war, but getting the peace will require strength, including if Putin keeps playing games, strengthening Ukraine. You know, you and I asked a question the other day, because nobody's asked this question about Ukraine using that new long-range missile.
Right.
And Trump didn't say anything about it.
Nope.
Has Trump, because we're back to arming them, is the United States arming them even more and just not talking about it? That it's not something that publicly is a part of the negotiations. You and I both asked that question the other day.
Well, we didn't hear anything about the killing of Soleimani until after Soleimani was dead, right?
Right.
There are things that are going to happen in this play that I believe President Trump is going to do without involving the media or promoting anything, because it could be the only way you deal with Russia, and I guess only time will tell.
As I read here, remember, Russia is running. Russia itself is running out of manpower and material. Its economy is in the gutter. If Putin realizes he could face a freshly fortified Ukraine, if he refuses to talk Turkey, then a ceasefire, maybe even a lasting peace deal, should suddenly look more attractive. That sort of mirrors what we said yesterday. That isn't something that is talked about a lot. You know, how this is, this war has really dented, their economy. The other thing, when you talk about negotiations like this, we don't know what's being said behind the scenes. We don't. And we don't know what the CIA knows.
Right.
And it's hard to do it. I tend to give Trump the benefit of the doubt here because of the way he has handled foreign relations.
Right. Yeah.
I look at what somebody has done in the past, what successes they have had, and say, okay, how did they negotiate this? And how whether it was the Abraham Accords, whether it was taking out Soleimani, you look at the things that he has done. It's like, okay, he's earned the benefit of the doubt here in these negotiations. And he really didn't give much yesterday at all, which I think is a way. And for Trump not to come out and just, blast somebody who doesn't agree with them is unique.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't normally. He's got no problem blasting somebody on day one.
Right.
And so the fact that he isn't, the left is taking that he is weak. I don't necessarily take that position.
Yeah.
Based on the history of Trump.
Exactly. Because if you look at his remarks, when he's talking more, we're always thinking, all right, wait for the action. When he's talking less, then I'm definitely waiting for the action. I'm waiting for, okay, there's something here, because clearly there's something he's not going to, a number of things he's not going to talk about in regards to dealing with Russia. It's one thing on a trade war, but an actual war, you can't show your hands, especially with a Russia. Putin has to know, I believe he does, that we know a lot about what's going on the inside. Public morale in Russia, something we covered yesterday. This is something that this generation is experiencing in recent years for the first time. And they don't have problems with Ukraine. They don't see why they're at war with Ukraine. They know why Putin wants to be at war with Ukraine. But they don't. They have a problem with going to war with Ukraine. They're seeing so many of their soldiers die. And you can't keep that up. Putin's going to be there until the very end. He's going to defy anybody and everybody. But at some point, you would think that there would be a carrot in this equation that would work for him. I don't know what that is. And it could be that, nope, Putin's going to be Putin, and there's nothing that you can do in terms of any kind of incentive. It's going to have to be a disincentive, which means action against Putin.
Wall Street Journal writes in their editorial, Mr. Trump's legacy would be permanently damaged by an outcome that the world perceives as a victory for Mr. Putin. U.S. public opinion is not sold on Mr. Trump's bent at the moment, with more than 75% of Americans in the latest survey taken this month that they're concerned that Mr. Putin would not honor a peace deal, including 69% of Republicans. For all the noise of negotiations, what matters most, and this is something we've said, are the actual terms of the peace deal. Mm-hmm. Mr. Trump might want to keep a note card reminding him, because remember this, that roughly 7 in 10 Americans wanted out of Afghanistan in 2021. Mm-hmm. President Biden thought he'd be a hero for wrapping up that war. We know how that turned out.
Right.
There isn't anything that he did in his administration that brought down the polling numbers as quick as Afghanistan. Remember that?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Remember how they nothing, which is pretty interesting, because you and I were a little bit surprised because it had something to do with foreign policy that you would think, okay, Americans aren't noticing it, but they did. The other thing is, Trump again throwing out his criticism towards the Wall Street Journal. We've said it before, though. Understand that the Wall Street Journal news division is different than their editorial division. But he's attacked their editorial page also. And it's interesting because when you look at, and he's attacked National Review too, and it's fine. I mean, because National Review has different writers with different opinions. And so they're not they're not like a monopoly of an opinion that everybody agrees with. They disagree with each other all the time.
Right. Yeah.
Wall Street Journal is an editorial page which is mostly conservative, but you take National Review and Wall Street Journal, they really, to me, and you can also call Red Eye Radio, since they are willing to criticize the president when they believe he is wrong, when they defend the president as they did legally with all the Russia collusion hoax and the lawfare, they really gave credibility to Trump's position on the lawfare because they are willing to criticize him. They were some of the biggest defenders. I don't know if the president knows that or not. I don't know if he's analyzed it to that point. He just sees an article that may be against him and screams and yells that the Wall Street Journal is in cahoots or is controlled by China, while
the owner of the Wall Street Journal is sitting right there. Yeah,
and so, but it's important to know the people. They may disagree with you, but when they overall support you on, especially the lawfare that went on and went after the left. Now, I will say this, with whether you look at the Wall Street Journal or National Review, and the whole thing on the whole judges thing, where they're saying, okay, you got to, even the conservative media, all right, you can't be throwing out impeachment. You can't. Look, the impeachment's not going to happen. But it's like, you don't throw out that political rhetoric at the courts because it's not normal politics. Yes, it is. It is normal politics because Roberts, we always bring up Roberts on Obamacare.
Right.
It was absolutely political. He was not following the law. And when it's self-evident that judges are overextending their bounds and being political, to say that the rough political rhetoric can't be used against them, I disagree with. Right. Of course it can. When it's self-evident that they are attempting to make law or change definitions or get out of where their authority is, and we must say, well, no, they are automatically always right. Now, nobody's going to get impeached. The judge is not going to be impeached for this. And the other thing is, impeachment doesn't mean anything to the American people anymore. I think to a lot of the establishment, even conservative media, well, you can't say impeachment. Well, Trump's been impeached twice. It doesn't mean anything anymore
exactly.
to anybody. So when you say impeached, it means, okay, we're going to slap their hand and say that they're bad. Because they're not going to get, none of these judges are going to get removed for decisions that they made because, again, the reverse would be going after every conservative judge for anything that they ever, or constructionist judge. There are more constructionists than conservative
and
judges.
And in the end, for every activist judge you have on the bench, there are 10 waiting to get on the bench. So getting rid of one activist judge from the bench isn't going to change the fact that there is going to be a ton of activist judges.
But by bringing up impeachment, people pay attention. And it's important that people pay attention so they understand that judges are not doing what they're supposed to do, which is interpreting the law. And when it becomes so self-evident that they're not, and that's where we are right now, I've got no problem throwing out the impeachment thing because, it's not going to go anywhere, but it makes people pay attention, and that's what people need to do right now.
Right.
Because the judicial branch has been able to get away with things that are not in their authority to do in the three branches of government and the separation of powers, and they need to be called out on it consistently and in a very, very passionate way. And something like this, that so obviously is a political win on deporting criminal, gang member, illegal immigrants, this is when you do want to bring it up.
Right. Yep.
because you're overstepping your authority. This is. I don't believe the district judge has any authority to be telling Trump what to do in this particular case.
No.
None.
No.
And so you need to call them on it and say what they're doing is what this judge is doing is reprehensible and wrong.
Right.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Man, we just have too many audio cuts to play, and more coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
Some great stuff from CNN here the last couple of days with Scott Jennings. Like, more on The View calling out Schumer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Where's that going to end up? Where is that going to end up? The next couple of months is going to be just fascinating. As we watch where the Democrats go.
It was Noah Rothman, National Review. Is Chuck Schumer doomed? You know, I've been saying for a long time we're doomed, but I think we can take it to a new level. We're not just doomed, we're Schumer doomed. Schumer doomed. Yeah, it's not working well for him. And I'm very curious to see where his party is going on this. Is AOC going to primary against him? Does she want that seat? You know? I mean, please, make it happen.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. All right. Audio cuts.
Yeah. A lot of them.
That's all I did yesterday. I mean, like I said, I don't have to work anymore. Just gather audio cuts. I mean, we'll comment on them, but it makes our job easier. This was really interesting. This is D.K. Thompson from The Atlantic and talking to Barry Weiss. And they wrote a book called Abundance. Ezra Klein and he did, and he's there. But it's D.K. Thompson from The Atlantic who does the talk. Derek, I think his name is. And just listen. He's a liberal.
Okay.
Listen to what he says, because it's the truth. I know he's liberal, but this is the truth.
I do think that one thing that we're saying over and over again in this book is that in places where liberals have an enormous amount of power, where their power is unmolested by Republican influence, they cannot blame Elon, they cannot blame Trump, they cannot blame the Republicans in the Senate. They have the power. They're not delivering. They're spending more per capita than any other place, but they can't actually deliver results. And I think one thing that we're seeing, to go back to a question you asked earlier, where you said, are these people delusional? Are you trying to change their minds when they leave Los Angeles and they leave San Francisco? Are you trying to grab them and shake them and say, no, absolutely not.
No, you're saying they're leaving with good reason.
Their values are right. It is the state that has failed, and we're trying to find a way to align the quality of governance with the expectations that those residents have.
Now, where I disagree is we're not trying to change their mind because they have the right thought. No, they don't. I disagree with that part of it. The first part of it I agreed with.
Well, it's the old, they have good intentions, or it's a noble idea to want this or that. Well, is it a noble idea if it's doomed to begin with, knowing that the fundamentals are going to fail it, which means it will fail people?
But think about it. Those are two liberals. liberals have criticized us for saying the exact same thing over the years, and now liberals are saying conservatives were right. In the places where liberals have enormous amount of power, where their power is unmolested by Republican influence, they cannot blame Elon, they cannot blame Trump, they have the power. They're spending more per capita than any other place, and they can't actually deliver results, which means the left is now saying more money is not the answer.
Well,
wow.
Something again, as you mentioned, that on the right we've been saying for a long time. They throw more money at a number of things, and where does it get you? Public education. Just one example. But, I mean, go through welfare, go through a number of programs over the years. We got to spend more. Or they say invest. There's no return. That's not an investment. You're failing people more and more, thinking that spending more is going to get you. Actually, I don't know how many of them think spending more is going to get you anywhere, because those that are in office, especially on the left, that promote these things, the only thing they care about is the vote. They want the votes on it. They can see it's not going anywhere. I mean, California, a great example. My gosh, the size of bloat in the California state government.
New York almost spends, I think they do spend twice per capita than Florida. Twice.
Yeah. And where does it get you?
Oh, well, I was driving on the roads.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I hit a couple of potholes that I swear I thought was going to swallow the car.
Yeah.
And there's always the complaints about the roads in New York.
Right.
Constantly.
Right. And the answer is, well, we're not spending enough money.
Yeah.
Well, we're not spending enough money. We're not spending enough money.
But it's interesting that the argument now is coming from liberals is spending more money is not the solution. They're heading in the right direction, but they can't yet get to the slam dunk answer, which is, as we have said many times before in a very blunt way, you suck on the issues.
Yeah.
Where you stand and what you wish to do is wrong. Enabling in our society a pathology of dependency does not solve the problem.
No.
Favoring criminals over citizens doesn't solve the problem. Opening the borders to let anyone in. Defending that Venezuelan gang members are being treated unfairly or unconstitutionally is not a hill you want to die on. Yet they do.
Yep. They're fighting for it, tooth and nail.
Burning Teslas and charging stations. I mean, the imagery is just I'm telling you, the imagery of that one then just blows my mind because it's like, so you're putting terrible pollution into the air when you burn one of these vehicles.
Yeah.
The batteries and everything else.
Right.
Terrible pollution. You don't care. Well, what does this guy do? What is Elon Musk doing? He's trying to get waste and inefficiency out of government. So we stop paying $1 trillion in interest on the debt and we start moving in the direction where we only spend what we make and that we don't put the burden on future generations, that it's immoral, that this nation was built on taxation without representation. That's how the country came to be. That was one of the biggest things, taxation without representation. And we found a loophole. All right. If you're alive, you get the representation. But if you're not alive yet, we can spend money and have you pay it down the road. How evil is that? And Republicans still don't talk enough about generational theft, as it's referred to. That we're stealing from future generations for what we want now, and we're basically just throwing that money down the toilet.
Yeah. Well, in the age of essentially praising a person for gunning down in cold blood a healthcare CEO for the sake of killing a healthcare CEO, the left is absolutely silent about the burning of Teslas and all of this destruction and terrorism that radicals are carrying out. On the killing of the healthcare CEO, in fact, they went in defense of the killer.
Yep.
AOC. Because if people are denied claims, they see that as an act of violence. That's her defending the murder of a healthcare CEO, and she's a lawmaker.
Which means she agrees with it.
Yes.
They see it as violence. Where did that come from?
Right.
Didn't come from the right.
Right.
That's the new leader of the Democrat Party.
Well, Tim Walz.
Put him up.
He can kick the asses of most of the Trump supporters.
I don't know. If I was Arnold, I'd just call him a girly man.
Listen to me. Don't go in there. There's a girly man in there.
I would do that just to tick him off to see if he wanted to fight.
I don't want to see that fight. I like watching fights, but I don't want to see that one. It's not going to be good for Tim Walz.
I just like it that Tim Walz, who scares nobody, is the one saying, I'd beat you up. I'd beat you up. I'd take him and I'd beat you up. I'd beat you up.
Wow. Sounds like somebody overcompensating for, lack of masculinity. If you're asking me. You don't have to overcompensate. Just be who you are. It's okay. Nobody's going to blame you.
Tim Walz, we need to pump you up.
You need to go to the gym, work it out. Get all this aggression out of your system.
Hold it. I got to find the one with Schumer. Oh, man, about working out.
Yeah.
Okay.
He only works out with dumbbells.
Oh, okay, here we go. He said, okay, let me, I don't know. I'll read the quote. I haven't listened to the audio yet.
Okay,
I don't know if it's a report
or
whether they actually play him saying it. And I don't know. So I don't know what's in it. So I'm not going to play the audio yet, but I'll read you the quote.
All right.
I am hopeful that our Republican colleagues will resume working with us. And I talked to them. One of the places is in the gym. When you're on that bike in your shorts, panting away next to a Republican, a lot of inhibitions come off. End of quote.
I think you're working out wrong. I don't think you're doing that right at all. I don't know what you're doing. What? A lot of inhibitions come off? While wearing shorts on a bicycle in the gym?
And remember, these are the people that tried to convince you that Trump and Vance are weird.
Exactly. Your inhibitions come off. I don't know what that even means. Next to a Republican.
When you're on the bike in your shorts, panting away next to a Republican.
Panting away.
A lot of inhibitions come off. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Listen, it's your life, and as long as it's all consensual.
You are adults, yes. We're not going to judge you. You are adults in the gym.
Right. Panting away. Wow. I think you're doing that wrong. I'm pretty sure you're doing it. I'm not an expert, but I'm pretty sure you're doing it wrong.
I hope the quote that the vocals there. I want to hear the. I'll check it during the.
All right.
The break coming up here.
Yeah. That's because we got to play that.
Well, it says I'm hopeful that a Republican colleagues will resume working with us, and I talk to them. Well, you got a problem with your own party working with you.
But did he mention if those Republicans in the gym were aroused or not?
Oh,
remember, he's the guy that brought that up. I didn't bring it up, y'all. He did.
You're right. He did.
He brought it up.
He did.
He laid the cheese down first. I did not.
He laid the cheese down before the beef was cooked.
That's right. That's Chuck. That's not me. I'm just responding to it. That's all I'm doing is asking questions. That's all.
I'm feeling uncomfortable here. I hope you're not affecting my masculinity.
Yeah, well, listen to me. Go down the hall, do a couple of laps around the building, do something, do some push-ups.
I've got the audio of Chuck Shumer.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Here we go.
All right. Let's hear it.
I am hopeful that our Republican colleagues will resume working with us. And I talk to them. One of the places I told them to go in the gym, when you're on that bike in your shorts, panting away next to a Republican, a lot of the inhibitions come off.
What? Why? What?
It's just weird.
Huh? No, what? I don't even acknowledge that back, I don't know, 40 years ago when I went to a gym, however long ago it was, I don't care what anyone beside me, I'm not there to strike up conversation.
Well, it just makes me happy because the only gym I ever used is when I lived in an apartment complex, and I'd go in there, but it's not the same as going into a gym. I've never had a membership in a gym, and when I built my house, how long ago was it? Can you believe that's 18 years ago?
Yeah.
I remember talking to you about just financial stuff.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Way back then.
Oh yeah.
About mortgages and everything else because I didn't buy a house till I was 51. Because in radio, I moved all around the country. You just you don't know how long you're going to be there. But I've never joined a gym, but I don't think that I don't know what he's talking about. Now I have a gym in my second guest bedroom. It's a gym that can be quickly made into a bedroom if people are visiting. But I have the gym there, I have my bicycle, and I have the pool in the back. So I don't have to go anywhere, which I have to do because for me to actually get up, get off my butt, and go to a place to exercise on machines would be very tough. But I don't think that I would probably be viewing it as a social activity.
No.
As much of a social activity.
And the clock is ticking.
And I probably would not describe it as in my panting, my inhibitions come down and I'm able to discuss politics with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, it's when I want you to leave me alone the most. Just let me get my exercise in and leave.
Well, I hate every moment on the machines. I'm not in a good mood. I hate working out. The beauty for me was I love basketball and hockey, and I played it my whole life. But as I was telling my doctor today, because we were talking about exercising and what I do, and he said you stopped basketball and hockey a while back, and I said yeah, when I was 62. I said I just couldn't, my joints couldn't handle it. And he goes, yeah, it's about my time I had to stop that too. And I said, but swimming, resistance training, which is what it is, working out for me on the machines, is resistance training, has been the closest to a miracle that I've ever had. I hate every minute of it, though. I hate it. And even riding the bike gets boring, and swimming gets boring. When I played basketball and hockey, I wasn't exercising, I was competing. And that's a completely different. I was exercising, but that's not how I thought of it. So when I'm working out, the last thing I'm not in a friendly mood when I'm working out. I just want to finish. It's like, get this thing done. And But I'm happy when I do it afterwards. Schumer's just weird. All right, you want to get to another one? All
right, what do you got?
When he's on The View yesterday.
Okay.
Let's hear him talking to Sonny.
Yeah, okay.
All right, here we go.
That's the question.
Sure.
Hi. Governor Pritzker's chief of staff, Ann Caprara, has said the following. The fight going on in the Democratic Party right now is not between hard left, right, and moderate. It's between those who want to fight and those who want to cave. And it gives me no pleasure to say this to you because we are friends, but I think you caved. I think you and 9 other Democrats caved. I don't think you showed the fight that this party needs right now because you're playing with by a rule book where the other party has thrown that rule book away.
True.
And so in my view, what you did really was in supporting that GOP partisan bill that Democrats had no input in, you cleared the way for Donald Trump and Elon Musk to gut Social Security, to gut Medicare, to gut Medicaid. Why did you lead Democratic senators to play by that book that the Republicans are not playing by?
Okay.
You know what's interesting? She's reading it.
Yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
She just can't make a statement and ask a question ad lib.
Right.
Have the lawyers now demanded that you need to be scripted?
Oh, maybe.
I love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It could be.
Love this.
Yeah.
Love this. And Schumer's just shaking his head.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I deserve this. Yeah. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. As she's telling him he caved, he caves to her. Yeah, you're right. I caved.
He's shaking his head up and down. Yeah.
You're right. He even said right. Right. No, you're right. I agree.
Again, to the people of The View, you're losing because you suck on the issues.
Yeah.
How many times can we say it?
Yep. It's that simple. She has to lie and make all these things up about, gutting Medicare, gutting Medicaid, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you're right. She has to lie in order to make her point.
In order to make her point, and then he's just doing what he does best. They should call him Senator Caveman.
Well, none of them were saying it. None of them were saying it just a few years ago when you had Pelosi and we played the audio, I think, on yesterday's show or the day before, the audio of Joe Biden with Obama next to him and Nancy Pelosi on the other side, saying 1/3 of Medicare is waste and we can cut 1/3 of Medicare and that's our goal. And now one Republican stood up and said, you can't do that. When Obama took, was it 800?
Yeah, it was 800 billion out of Medicare.
Out of Medicare for Obamacare.
Right.
Did one Democrat get up and complain about that?
Nope.
No. So shut up.
Yeah.
Don't sit there and think you have any moral high ground at all because you don't.
Nope. You have to lie to make your point. And the fact of the matter is the Biden agenda, a lot of us fiscal conservatives are concerned that the continuing resolution keeps in play much of the Biden agenda for several more months. And we're not okay with that. But of course he's going to cave, and he's going to cave to Sonny when she's asking the question. He doesn't really have anything to go on. I don't know what he or his people expected. By the way, was she reading a pre-approved question?
She's reading the entire thing.
Right.
She was reading the entire thing.
Is it the reason that it was written down and she's reading it because she told his people, I'm going to come at you, and they said, okay, but you need to tell us what you're going to say exactly first, and you need to stick to it? Because he's going along with it almost as if he helped write it. Is he trying to, disarm the damage and do the mea culpa thing here? Because it doesn't work. The hamburger patty's still raw, Chuck. You've already got the cheese down. You can't change the fact that you did it. It already happened. You're not going to save yourself on The View or anywhere else. And I just can't wait to see where this goes.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here. All right, you ready for more?
All right, what do you got?
Chuck Shumer on with CBS This Morning. All right,
Okay.
Yesterday. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
People in your own party, they're saying, look, it's time for you to go. They no longer trust your leadership. They want somebody else in there. What do you say about that?
Here's what I say.
In your own party saying
Yes.
you've got to go.
Here's what I'm saying. I'm the best leader for the Senate. We have a lot of leaders. You know, when you don't have a president, there's not one leader of the party. There are lots of them. We have a lot of good people. But I am the best at keep winning Senate seats. I've done it in 2005. Just in 2020, no one thought we'd take back the Senate. Under my leadership, we took it. So we now are executing.
You're not going anywhere.
We have a great. We're moving forward. Hakeem and I have a plan. Let me just say this: there's a real contrast between the parties. The Republican Party now, particularly in office, is the party of rich oligarchs who want to really screw every average American so they can get tax cuts for the rich, and we are fighting that every day. So today. We just issued a statement at 8 o'clock that describes it. Hakeem and I, we have a day of action on Medicaid. In every state, in every corner of the country, Democrats are talking about they're going to Medicaid centers. They're going to people who would be deprived and
Senator, people don't have faith in the Democrats.
Well, let me say this. Look, and we're going to do this day in, day out on issues. Why are they doing tariffs and raising your cost $2,000? It's beginning to work. Why are they taking away Fannie and Freddie and raising your housing costs dramatically? It's beginning to work. His numbers have come down. If we keep at it every day, relentless fighting and showing how they're hurting people so badly, Trump's numbers will get much lower. And his both popularity but also his effectiveness will decline. That, I believe that strategy will work.
They don't buy it.
No, they don't. Nope. No. You know, look, Schumer, I think, was on his way out anyway. Not by his own, thoughts. I don't think he was thinking about getting out. But I think the left was done with him, and it was clear that it was moving in that direction. His apology tour, you said this during the break, the apology tour really isn't working. You can't, the left isn't going to give you any breaks here. They may give you some time to talk, but honestly, they're having you on so they can berate you on their own soil, on their own real estate. That's the only reason they're having you on. Nobody cares about your book, Chuck. They want you out there. Sonny wanted you out there so she could hand it to you. CBS This Morning wants you out there so they can hand it to you, so they can get credibility for going after you publicly in front of you, with you there. That's the only thing they're looking at. The far left doesn't want anything to do with Chuck Schumer anymore. They don't. They don't see him as the future of the party, just by sheer numbers, he's not. But beyond that, he's not. He doesn't represent the party anymore. The radicals, the full-on radicals, and yeah, he is a radical too, but I mean the full-on young radicals are the ones that want to take the party. They're going to take it and run. They think they can win elections without a Chuck Schumer. Schumer can claim all he wants to about, well, I, helped to win the Senate back and blah, 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 blah. Well, they think they're fine without you, and they don't need you. They don't want you. The days are numbered for Chuck Schumer.
Now, it wasn't surprising what he said at the end when he talked about the fact that since there's going to be cuts, they're going to be continuing with the lie that you wish to cut Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid for deserving people, which is not what they're doing, but they're going to continue with that one because they believe something which probably is correct. The American people say they want to cut, but don't cut anything close to me.
Well, no, and they're going to capitalize on that.
Right. And the other thing is if it continues and the economy doesn't improve, the public has given the president, sometime. You saw that they backed off a couple days ago on the soft lumber tariffs till April 2nd because the industry petitioned the president.
Right.
It does seem like the last couple of days, it seemed like yesterday, everything was about retaliatory tariffs. Everything was. There was no talk in general about funding the government anymore with tariffs. You're not hearing that right now.
Right.
You're just not. The president, in an interview last night, still brought up the stupid, idiotic thing of, well, they should be the 51st state. Stop it. It's idiotic. Not one Republican wants it. It's a loser issue now. The joke is over. Move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it looks like everything is now, because they're seeing the polling. The polling on it was like said, if you do tariffs in general for negotiations, the public is for it. If you do tariffs on China, the public says yes.
Right.
As soon as you say Canada and Mexico, the opposite.
Right.
And as we said the other day that you start yelling and screaming how unfair trade is with Canada and Mexico, the public knows now you did the deal. You did it. Nobody else did the deal except Trump. Congress approved it. They didn't get any say in the deal. They had to vote it up or down.
Right.
The entire trade situation with Canada is on Trump. He did it. And he doesn't realize that he's backing himself into a corner. That the public already realizes it, which is why the polling on tariffs on Canada and Mexico are completely different, reversed from where they are on China.
I think that's why the language is changing.
The language has changed the last couple of days where it's simply retaliatory tariffs on people that put tariffs on us that we don't put on them.
Right.
Now, the interesting thing is we found out yesterday that if we have a certain tariff that Congress passed or was passed in any type of free trade agreement, and that the other countries have a tariff that's higher, if they lower their tariff, Trump can't lower it.
Congress has to do that.
Congress has to lower it. He can only raise it, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
But it was like if Congress passed it, because you can do an emergency thing. Congress has said the president can do emergency declarations if there's unfair trading practices to raise tariffs, but nowhere in the law does it say he can lower tariffs.
Yeah, he can lower what he raised, but he can't lower what's already in place.
Right.
And
yeah, exactly right. If he raised it, he can lower it.
Right.
But if he didn't raise it, he cannot lower it. He doesn't have that negotiating tool with those other countries.
Right.
Congress has to do that. Now, Congress may give him the ability to do that. Who knows?
Yeah.
But would you have to go through? Is it just you probably have to go through the a filibuster on that one, though?
I would think.
And after the Schumer thing, they're not going to agree with the Republicans on anything from now on, I don't believe.
No.
Very little will they agree with them on.
Nope. No, you're not going to, you're not going to, that's over.
Hey, have you heard anything on reconciliation? I've heard nothing.
I've heard nothing on it.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing on it. Because that's pretty much all you got.
And you want to get that in. That's that I was reading that, was it Bloomberg, where that you have the CEOs, and they've expressed their opinion to Trump, are like, why are you doing this before the pro-growth stuff's in? Do the pro-growth stuff first. If you feel you have to do the tariffs, fine, but do the pro-growth stuff first. But we can't plan anything. We can't do anything not knowing what's going on. And the fact is, what you wish to do in other areas, which is pro-growth, by continuing the tax cuts and having new tax cuts, there's nothing that we don't know what to do,
right?
Because that doesn't seem like that keeps getting pushed off. We knew it was going to take months anyway to do that. And all you have is the things that will stifle growth.
Right.
You may want to justify it, but it's still stifling growth, as they've admitted now. They've admitted
that there's going to be pain.
That there's going to be pain on it, which I give them credit for, because we were extremely angry. We don't believe that anybody that has conservative ideology ever has to not tell the truth. You saw the surrogates were upset because they've called out Levitt 3 times on fact checking, and it was like they only called out the Biden administration 3 times in the first year or something like that it was. But what they gave was where she said tariffs are a tax cut for the American consumer. And we called her on that. We said, And then you question why people say you say, don't dare question my economics when you say tariffs are a tax cut for the American people.
Right.
Nobody buys that.
Right.
That was a dumb move by her to say that.
Well,
and that was in front of everybody. It wasn't just, that was in front of that press conference a couple of days ago was a huge press conference. I think it was late last week.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and the conversation now is because what this is the left regrouping, getting Chuck back in line, making sure none of the Senate Democrats ever do this again. It'd be interesting to see if Fetterman ever goes across the line because for him, he doesn't care. They vote on something on Israel. I think he's going to go along with Republicans. I don't know what that would be, but that's just one example of where his beliefs are strong. But you're not going to see that.
Well, is anything else going to get passed besides if there's one or two reconciliation bills? Will anything else get passed no matter what it's about?
No.
Because right now, it's like the Senate needs to shut down everything and Schumer needs to be the leader of that, is where the Democrats are coming from right now.
Right. But, here's the thing. There are other Democrats in the Senate. And the question is, what can they afford to do and not do? It depends on the bill you're talking about. But on an energy bill, well, Fetterman and Pennsylvania, huge energy state. These are the things that you have to look at. You look at the purple states, and Schumer's getting it handed to him because, he's the Senate minority leader. And he's also in New York. So, he's not in a purple state. But what about the other Democrats? It's only a few of them. And it won't be enough to get them ever. I don't believe you're ever going to get them to 60. What they get to 62 the other day, But what about the other, aside from Fetterman, what about the others? There's a handful of them. And the question would be, where do they go based on the issues that resonate in their states? You vote against that? You vote against the interest of your state? Just to vote against Trump? It's going to be fascinating to watch.
It is.
But I do believe they are gelled. I don't think they'll get 60 votes on anything.
I expect now, because of the whole situation with the continuing resolution, which is really hilarious, that's what broke up the Democrats.
Yeah.
It wasn't abortion. It was a continuing resolution where everything that was in the last continuing resolution when Democrats were in charge to continue the Biden spending was still in there.
Right.
That's what ends up destroying maybe the final nail in the coffin of anything coming from the Democratic Party over the next couple of years.
Right.
But for that to split them up, you and I just find fascinating. And we'll get to Scott Jennings talking to all the liberals at CNN coming up following the top of the hour on that one. Plus, we'll get a little bit to the interview. Got a little testy. Laura Ingraham and Trump on trade and telling him, no, you're not right on that. He's saying that there's a $200 billion trade deficit.
Right.
There isn't.
Right.
He keeps saying that. It's not accurate. And where we get it from is the Office of United States Trade Representative, Executive Office of the President. That's where the numbers come from. But he keeps throwing out that it's $200 billion. As we know, we have a trade surplus with Canada if you don't count oil, which the president was demanding that TD Energy come back down, finish the Keystone Pipeline to pump more Canadian oil into the United States.
Right.
And that's where he's all over the place. And Laura Ingraham, you could tell it was getting snippy there.
Right.
You start losing somebody like Laura Ingraham, who was an absolute supporter of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
They're seeing the polls. That's what it is. People looking at the polls, and they get the feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Republicans, most Republicans have no problem with reciprocal tariffs. They have a problem with your free trade partners that you have an agreement with.
Right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hi. Hello. Hello.
Hello. Just so you know, I'm just going through my papers here. Just as I'm going through my papers right now, and you mentioned the headline earlier, is Chuck Schumer doomed?
Yeah. Man, you're not just doomed, you're Schumer doomed.
All right, this one I like. All right,
okay.
we always got to have some fun.
Okay.
A bill introduced in Minnesota seeks to revise state law to include Trump derangement syndrome as a form of mental illness. The bill introduced by 5 Republican state senators would add the syndrome TDS to the state's definition of mental illness.
All right.
I'm sorry, this is funny. The bill defines TDS as, quote, the acute onset of paranoia in otherwise normal persons that is in reaction to the policies and presidencies of President Donald J. Trump, end of quote. Symptoms.
Here we go. Here we go. Here's what to look for. This is why we go to WebMD right here.
Symptoms may include Trump-induced general hysteria, which produces an inability to distinguish between legitimate policy differences and signs of psychic pathology in President Donald J. Trump's behavior, end of quote, it reads. The legislation specifies that TDS can be expressed by verbal expressions of intense hostility towards Trump and by overt acts of aggression and violence against Trump's supporters or against anything that symbolizes President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a certain governor they're targeting there. Wow. Yeah. Threats of violence towards Trump supporters, Governor Walz.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's a masculinity image problem for Walz.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, my gosh. Don't you just love it? All right, here we go.
Okay. What do you got?
Little snipping back and forth yesterday between Laura Ingraham and the president.
All right.
Here we go.
Okay.
You're tougher with Canada than you are with some of our biggest adversaries.
Only because it's meant to be our 51st Street. And
okay, but
but listen to this for a second.
We need their territory. They have territorial advantage. We're not going to let them get close to China.
Look, right? I deal with every country, indirectly or directly. One of the nastiest countries to deal with is Canada. The people that, now this was Trudeau, the people that good old Justin, I call him Governor Trudeau, his people were nasty. And they weren't telling the truth. They never told the truth. You know that, they'd say, well, we don't charge. Well, they do. They charge tremendous. They charge tremendous. And if you look at dairy products, what they've done to our farmers, I'd go up to Iowa, I'd go up to different places, Nebraska, and they would always complain about Canada, how they get ripped off. Do you know that Canada has a 250% tariff? 250, nobody knows that. They charge us numbers that are crazy. We have a very big deficit with Canada, and there's no reason, much more, we have much more.
I don't think so.
Just so you understand, we subsidize Canada, and I like Canada. I love Canada. I love Wayne
now
Gretzky.
the liberal guys,
I love his wife.
The Liberal
I love
Party is going to
everything.
win now in the next election,
I don't
most
care.
likely. And they were
I don't care.
down and out.
I don't
Isn't that
care.
going to make them more hostile to us and possibly
No, I'd rather
open the
deal
door
with a liberal than a
for
conservative.
China closer to Canada, and that would really put us in a bind.
Well. Hello.
Yeah. That escalated quickly. All right.
Laura Ingraham is right on the trade imbalance, according to the Executive Office of the President, Office of the United States Trade Representative. This is on goods. U.S. total goods trade with Canada were an estimated $762 billion in 2024. That's both sides going back and forth. U.S. goods exports to Canada in 2024 were $349 billion. U.S. goods imports from Canada totaled $412.7 billion. The U.S. goods trade deficit with Canada was $63.3 billion in 2024, a 1.4% decrease. Now, that's just on goods, all right? When you take into consideration goods and services, which is also part of the GDP and part of the total trade deficit, it would be, let me just make sure I get it here right. The U.S. goods and services trade deficit, $35.7 billion, which means we have with Canada a services surplus of roughly, if it was $63 billion, almost $30 billion, we have a surplus in services. If you take out oil, we have a trade surplus with Canada. And Laura Ingraham was trying to get in, but they were talking over each other, that the 250% on dairy has never been reached. Now, I don't know if she, I'm assuming she knows that the trade deal with Canada, everything that Canada does right now is in the trade deal that Trump negotiated with the U.S. trade representatives under his authority.
It's agreed to.
Congress had nothing to do with it, nothing. Congress votes it up or down. They voted for it. But everything, every single thing with Canada or Mexico was approved by Trump in his first term with USMCA.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yeah.
And so when you take oil out of it, again, this is from the office, the executive office of the president, the U.S. trade representative. When you take oil out of the mix, which Trump 2 weeks ago said was demanding the TD Energy from Alberta come down and finish this pipeline so we can continue to pump more Canadian oil. Without that Canadian oil, the United States has a trade surplus with Canada.
Yeah,
so I don't know. Again, this is where the confusion comes in. The only thing I will say that in the last couple of days, they're talking about strictly retaliatory tariffs. That's it.
Yeah, the language is changing. The talking points are changing on it.
Yep.
And, it's hard to know where it's going to go, because I'm wondering what happens when we get to when April 2nd comes around. What's going to happen? I don't think anybody knows, because you can say, well, no, it's going to happen because he says it's going to happen. Well, but things have changed on the fly. Is the point. And is he going to change it on the fly again between now and April 2nd? That would be the question. And if so, what does it look like? I mean, ultimately, aren't you going back to the table for USMCA when you're talking about Canada and Mexico? There's really no way around that. You are. You have to go in and renegotiate USMCA. And if that's your goal, then just state that. We're not happy. We believe we didn't get the deal we wanted, or, I should have had this first, or that I don't know what you would say, but you need to be very clear about it. If that's going to be ultimately what you're looking for, Otherwise, again, I don't know what they're seeing in the internals, but they're clearly seeing something.
I don't know why the obsession still, because it's the first defense you see from Leavitt and Trump, is Canada should be the 51st state.
Right.
It's not going to happen. We all know it.
Right.
It's funny because I was in the...
In fact, it seems like nobody else is listening to that, right? They keep the more they keep saying it, the more people are not listening to
and not even responding to it.
Not even responding.
Just stop it. Just stop it. But it's the first thing that Leavitt, the first thing she said the other day, she came out with, this is why they need to be the 51st state. And it was funny today because I talked to her. I was in the doctor's office in the waiting room. A guy came in, clearly, had a veteran's hat on and everything else. He saw this shirt that I'm still wearing right now. This American flag shirt. He goes, that's a really nice shirt. And we started getting into talking politics. And I can talk as long as it's somebody that doesn't have, TDS. I can, as they're trying to solve in the great state of Minnesota.
Exactly.
I can talk to anybody on politics. I've talked to liberals on politics. They'll know what I go, yeah, I'm a conservative. I said, but, I'm a conservative. But if Republicans aren't conservative, I'll hit it. But here's what it means and everything else. And I started talking to this guy, and he just said, we somehow got, he was looking at there's stars on here.
Right, yeah.
And he's like, there's not 52 stars. I said, 52? And he said, yeah, Greenland and...
and Canada.
He said, Greenland and Canada. And I said, well, the Independent Party won in these last elections here. Not the Independent Party. What do they call it? They want independence from, I forgot what they're called. They want independence from Denmark. And they don't want to be associated. And I said, you look at somebody like Greenland. I said, the president came out the other day and was talking about the advantages. Look, it's up to them of what they want to do. But, man, there'd be a ton of advantages. And I said, that's something that anybody should actually look into to become a territory of the United States.
Right.
Where you can still retain your own citizenship, your own government, but you get protection of the United States of America.
Sounds like a great deal.
I said, you could look at it as a great deal. And I said, but Canada, that's never going to happen. He goes, really? You don't think so? And I said, and it was so funny because all I had to say was, well, you have to realize Canada has 40 million people. He goes, oh, that many? I said, yeah, 40 million. So they'd be the biggest state, and they'd be the biggest blue state. I said they'd have a net 40 to 45 additional, additional members of Congress in there. We wouldn't win the House for decades.
Right.
I said the Republicans lose the House for decades. They'd have an additional 2 senators. And I said, and then he goes, hell with that.
Yeah.
And then I said, and I can't tell you when we'd win the Electoral College. He goes, to hell with that then. He goes, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
He goes, you're right. They'd be the biggest state in the Union. They would solidify blue for the rest of my life. And who knows how much further if they became. He goes, well, that's a dumb idea then. Like, yeah, and people start figuring that out, especially Republicans, and they say, Mr. President, please move on. Have a better argument that this is why. And the first argument now out of them the last couple of days, well, they need to do this because Canada can only succeed as a 51st state. It's not going to happen. Stop talking about it.
Right.
And they're not joking anymore.
Right.
They say it in a serious way, and it's like, stop being stupid. Where you have the win on tariffs is a retaliatory tariffs.
Yep.
There you can make the case, and the people are already behind you on it. Look at all the polls on China. People want the tariffs on China.
Right.
They know that you did the trade agreement with Canada and Mexico just a couple of years ago. If it sucks, you did the deal.
Yeah. Right.
Republicans aren't stupid, Mr. President. They understand this stuff, and they say, retaliatory? Yeah, absolutely. But when you're the one that made the deal and you pretend it doesn't exist, that the deal doesn't exist, and everything is so unfair.
And I haven't heard anybody from the administration promote, hey, our goal is to renegotiate USMCA.
No. I think, was written somewhere. I think one person did inside the
I
administration.
know Kevin O'Leary's mentioned it a number of times.
Okay, maybe it was Kevin O'Leary that did it. Maybe okay.
And he's calling it. I think he's calling it NAFTA
Right.
3.0 or something.
But when he keeps saying the $200 billion, everybody knows that's been false for weeks.
Right.
And he keeps throwing out we have a $200 billion trade deficit, and we don't.
Right.
And if it's not for oil, we have a trade surplus, and he wants that oil. So, in essence, Trump wants the trade deficit, unless he just wants a bigger surplus on the other side. But he views it, and again, this is why I would love to have a discussion with him to find out what he thinks about politics or about economics, because he believes that a trade deficit is subsidizing Canada.
Right.
He believes that if you do it, and it's not. Trade doesn't work that way.
No,
it's not, as we explained last week when we said, here's what a surplus means.
Right.
And you know that if that your trade policies are hurting you if your dollar starts sinking, and it doesn't. And, that's how you know.
Right.
So, but everything the last 48 hours has been from the administration, just retaliatory tariffs. You haven't heard the talk of, and then this is the other thing. It's very simple for you or I to do the math on whether tariffs could replace the income tax and what you would need to do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're saying we're only doing retaliatory tariffs, you can't even pay the interest on the debt on that one.
Right.
But even if you maxed out and you can do it yourself, you can look and do it yourself. We did it, and we told you what the figures are, but you can do it yourself. You can get the official government figures, and you can see roughly, and we even went higher, $3.5 to $4 trillion in imports coming into the United States.
Mm-hmm.
What do you need? You need to replace $3 trillion from just personal income tax.
Right.
You need roughly 90 to 100% tariff on every single thing that comes in from every single country, and they're saying that's not our goal some of the time.
Right.
Because they're not consistent in the messaging that they're putting out to the American public.
And now they're on reciprocal tariffs only.
Now they're on reciprocal tariffs,
at least,
and you're not going to get there. So be very clear on this. Is our only, which every government,
and
no
whatever
matter,
you're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. You and I've said that. Do it.
Yep.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. At a roadside inspection, inspectors may ask to see supporting documents. A supporting document is a document generated or received by a motor carrier in the normal course of business that can be used by law enforcement to verify a driver's logs. These documents can include bills of lading, itineraries, schedules, or equivalent documents that indicate the origin and destination of each trip. They can also include dispatch or trip records, expense receipts related to on-duty/not driving periods, including receipts for meals, lodging, and fuel, electronic mobile communication transmitted through a fleet management system, and payroll records, settlement sheets, or equivalent documents that indicate payment to a driver. Drivers using paper logs must also keep toll receipts. Supporting documents must contain the driver's name, carrier-assigned identification number or vehicle unit number that can be linked to the driver, the date, the name of the nearest city, town, or village, and the time. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. By the way, in that interview with Laura Ingraham, Trump also said, "No, we plan on going through the appeals process, and we plan if a judge rules on it, even if they're wrong, we'll follow it because it will get overturned on appeal."
Right.
And so he made that the official position again. What happens specifically with the timing and the airplanes and everything else is to, I guess, we'll see what happens there. But he said, I have every intention of following what the courts say, even if they're wrong, because we believe they will get appealed. And we've said that's his goal.
That's his goal.
His goal has
Get
always
it to
been
the courts.
Get it to the courts.
Yep.
Make sure everybody knows in the country what the issue is.
Yep.
And he's doing that quite successfully.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. As we said, this is just audio cut day. There's just so many audio cuts. Let's get right to CNN.
All right.
This is Republican strategist Shermichael Singleton as they talk about President Trump and when it comes to deporting illegal immigrant gang members.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Politically, let us not pretend that Democrats have not in the past stated that a president of their party should not ignore judges. I remember AOC just a year or two ago talking about President Biden should ignore the ruling for judges as it pertains to forgiving student debt. There were a lot of Democrats who made that argument at the time. I disagreed. With that said, earlier today we had Roberto Gonzalez on, former AG under George W. Bush, who was pretty clear. He didn't necessarily agree with the post from the president, but he said from his opinion as an attorney, he's almost certain that the Supreme Court would agree that the president has the authority to absolutely ship these criminals out of our country. And the fact that Democrats want to die on this issue, more power to them. More power to them. This is not a winning issue for Democrats.
Yeah. No, it's...
Yeah, it is the issue.
Yeah.
It's not the issue. Yeah, it is the issue.
No, it is absolutely the issue.
You're going to lose it. And the president does have that power. And, you know, we went through yesterday the history and the fact that you didn't have district judges involved in anything like this till the Reagan administration. And that case was made, who was it? John Fund, I believe, made that argument. Mm-hmm. You look at the history, first, 150 years of this country wasn't used once by a district judge, and now one district judge is not trying to stop one person. What they're trying to stop is the policy of the president, which is completely different, that the president, and it's like, well, okay, we can hold this up until we get it through the courts, and we may delay it a long time. Well, you're just interfering on something that is absolutely a clear constitutional authority of the executive branch.
Yeah.
And that's the problem going on there. But let's continue. I want to get to, as he continues, Shermichael Singleton talking about the Democratic Party, because really the news yesterday was about that and also Schumer. But here's Schumer stuff. Here you go.
But I think the problem is no one knows what the Democratic Party stands for. No one knows what their policy positions are. I think that's a part of the reason why many Democrats are angry. You look at the recent data that just came out, most younger men, Republicans. People of color starting to teeter more Republicans. Younger voters writ large starting to teeter more Republicans because they look at the Democratic Party for answers and solutions for a litany of problems that they have experienced over the last 8 years. And the Democratic Party has made a lot of promises, but they haven't delivered much on many of those promises, John. So this is an opportunity for the Republican Party, I would argue, to actually offer solutions to the problems that Americans are. But I think the problem is...
I still think, hang on, sorry, that was my fault. I still think that they need to, not that they don't need to say what he said there, but they need to bring up the fact that when Democrats were in power, they created the problems.
Yeah.
That the legislation that they created or the executive orders, Biden created the problem at the border. That was created. Inflation was created. It came from it. Government, forget about government not being able to solve your problems. Government created the problems for you.
Right.
So,
and then in the end, tried to pretend that they were going to solve them. Kamala Harris is going to build a wall. I mean, that's just rich.
Well, you're right. Yeah, that she was going to be tougher on illegal immigration, and nobody bought it.
Yeah. And that's the problem. Ultimately, you look at whatever it is that Trump wants, even things you and I disagree with him on, which would mainly be tariffs, really. He wants what's best for this country.
I have no doubt of that whatsoever. I have no doubt that the people that support Trump on the tariffs, the majority of the country supports him though on the retaliatory tariffs as we do.
And
it's about telling the truth.
Well, and that's it.
To
and
me,
then
it's about giving accurate information. You don't need to not tell the truth as a conservative Republican.
Right.
You don't need to make stuff up. You don't need to say the trade deficit is $200 billion.
And you know,
Which it is not.
on
Okay.
fighting for the left to fight for everything they're fighting for. You look at these district judges. We pointed it out yesterday, and then another district judge, and we said there will be more, and of course, there was more that same day that we said that, because they're nothing if not predictable. But they're fighting against this administration, against Trump, whose effort is ultimately, and we think through the courts, actually, which is another rich point, he wants this to go all the way to the top because he believes he's going to win on all these items, and I think he's going to as well. And they're fighting through him. You think about, and then they scream fascism and dictator. Well, where's the actual fascism coming from? You know, from the side that tells you, John Kerry, that the First Amendment is blocking our agenda.
Yep.
Now,
and Hillary too.
We didn't hear anything from the left on that at all. They were silent because the mindset is, yeah, they'll get Trump. They'll shut down the right with all of their misinformation. They're coming after you, the ones that vote for them. If you decide to get in their way or even ask a question, any dissent will be squashed immediately. Look, a continuing resolution.
Yo, you ready for this?
That's what's bringing the party down.
I've got it here. All right, Scott
right.
Jennings, with the panel from CNN.
All right,
on this. Here we go.
You know, the proposals that they're bringing are horrendous enough for us to do that, and we should do that.
What's horrendous about the CR? It continues funding the government at Biden.
Horrendous about the CR is that it is a cut.
No.
Yes, it is.
No.
If you do not consider the cost of doing business, if you do not consider that the cost of living, for example, has gone up, that everything has gone up.
Now you're changing. It's not a cut. You're being
dishonest.
It's a cut. It's not a cut.
It's a cut.
It's continuing
A cut is a
funding the
cut is
government
a
at the
cut.
same levels. It's not a cut. You voted to shut down the government. You voted to lay off every veteran in the federal government. You're making a passionate plea for why Democrats didn't shut down the government. And now Chuck Schumer can't even have a book tour because Democrats are so enraged that the government was. And I'm just confused because last week I was told that people going and expressing their First Amendment rights was part of their democratic and civic duty. And now Chuck Schumer can't even have a book party with Democrats over it. I'm trying to decide.
I actually think that Democrats are in agreement with you in the sense that they probably think Chuck Schumer should,
Yes,
to
exactly.
Carrie's point, take the smoke.
2 weeks ago, he was attacking
Show up and take the He should show up and take the L, is what I'm saying. No one's saying he can't have it, Scott. He can do whatever he chose to, but once again, another example of him deciding to hide. I would love for him to go on the book tour so that he can answer the questions of the American people. Security risk perhaps may be true, according to what Abby has said and what his office is saying.
Who would be the security risk, though?
I don't know.
Who
All
would
I'm
be the
saying
security risk?
Right, yeah. I don't know. What I love is every time Jennings talks, the response sounds like you're walking into a pet adoption center.
No, it sounds like 1,000 kids going crazy in the gymnasium, as you said a long time ago.
Well, actually, this doesn't, in the case of Scott Jennings, because that's too harsh on the kids. They actually sound smarter. And it does. It's just like walking into a pet adoption center.
But the point they were making is threats of violence against Schumer.
Yeah.
From the left.
Yes. Gee, I hope he doesn't drive a Tesla.
That's why. But that's why, as he said, Abby Phillips said, the security, Schumer worried of violence coming from the left.
Yes.
From Democrats that are upset.
Yep.
They're afraid of violence against Schumer.
Yeah.
For a continuing resolution.
Not an abortion bill.
No, not.
A continuing resolution.
Yep. That funds all of Biden's priorities from last year.
I mean, it's only March 19th.
Oh, wow.
Tomorrow's only been 2 months. Wow. I expected things to happen, but this. And of course it was at the same time. Of course it was going to happen on something like a continuing resolution. Why? Because you voted with Trump and his GOP. You and I mentioned that just the other day before the vote. Generally speaking, you can't possibly vote with the GOP and not get destroyed as a Democrat. And case in point, Your Honor, we'd like to introduce into evidence Senator Chuck Shumer. Because you can't. And it doesn't matter that it's just a continuing resolution. It's anything. And of course it was going to be something. And what I love about it is the left doesn't have a parade for continuing, or a parade for or parade against continuing resolutions, right? If this were an abortion bill, they have their marches and rallies for abortion. They don't have any marches or rallies for continuing resolutions. They don't. So this is getting all the attention. The party itself and the implosion is getting all the attention because people are going, well, they were just voting to keep most people, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people who just go about their day and it's just because they voted to keep the government open. Schumer's the bad guy.
Well, you can actually make the case in this one because, as you know, Rand Paul wasn't happy. Massey wasn't happy. You have a lot of conservatives that looked at this in the Republican Party and said, all right, I have to hold my tongue and wait to see what they do in the reconciliation. Then the bill come October 1st. If they don't do it then all hell's going to break loose.
Right.
Because I'm not going to be happy about this because they're promoting like crazy how much they're saving the American public, and we eventually have to see it in the budget, right? That's what they're thinking.
Yep.
So you can make the point to an independent that actually it was the Republicans that compromised and included all what Biden wanted in there, and not one Democrat voted for it. You can make the case to independents that the people that compromised were the Republicans,
right?
And they offered that olive branch to the Democrats, and they completely and totally rejected it. Think about it. The Republicans allowed everything that Biden wanted to fund in the continuing resolution.
Yep.
And Schumer was like, okay, look, we got some of it. It's not all bad. It gets us a little bit of breathing room. They didn't want that. And so I don't know if anyone is going to use it. They haven't yet. That same message saying, hey, to independents out there, we're the ones that compromised. We're the ones that were willing to compromise.
Right.
We extended the olive branch to the Democrats. Politically, it would be a good thing to do, but you don't want to say it in front of your own conservatives because they won't be happy with it.
Make sure conservatives are out of town when you say that.
When you say that, yes.
But that's that's how crazy this whole thing is. But it shines all of the light on where the Democrats are. If you needed that for us and our audience, we don't need that. We know exactly who they are and where they stand. But for a lot of people, we've said Trump has been pointing to the contrast from the moment In fact, right there, in his inauguration speech, and it needs to be pointed out every day, the contrast between the two parties and the goals between the two parties. And you're seeing it play out here thanks to a continuing resolution. Wow.
I know.
I never would have thought it, but of course it was going to be anything you vote with Trump on.
Yep.
That's it.
I just love it. It's like, it wasn't even abortion.
It's not even abortion.
It's a continuing resolution.
Right.
866-90-RED-I.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, our new Red Eye Radio app, newly updated Red Eye Radio app today. Why? Because our show ends in just another hour. An hour from now, we'll be saying bye-bye, but after the show's over.
For the day.
Yes. We record the entire show, and it becomes our podcast that you can get on our Red Eye Radio app. Plus, during the show, if you cannot listen to us on one of our great radio stations, we stream live on the app all 5 hours.
And thank you for everybody who listens on our great stations and on our app.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.